Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about the Ark Nova endgame. Ark Nova can be a very close game towards the end of the game a lot of the time. Often you don't know if you want to cross immediately or sort of wait a little bit, or maybe have a break and then have a bigger cross after the break. So we're going to discuss that a bit today. I've got 8 different scenarios, the endings of 8 different replays that we're going to look at. And we'll sort of discuss the things we're looking out for. And a lot of it is to do with looking at what your opponent can do. So in this first game, hey Harp Attack, thank you. This first game was a game that I played earlier today, I think, or yesterday. I mean, the first thing you want to look at is score difference, money difference, amount of workers your opponent has. So in this case, we have a 20-point lead at the moment. We're both very broke. The opponent does have a worker, so they can do a project this round, which is most likely going to be their next move. Another important factor is looking at empty enclosures. So the opponent has space in an aviary, they have 2 sizes, they have a 3rd petting zoo waiting to come in potentially. And then as well as score, you also need to look at endgame points. So I think that's pretty even for both of us. The opponent has Technology Institute for 1 CP, we have Breeding Corporation for 1 CP. Our endgame is Small Animals for 2 at the moment. So this is a situation that I like to call just falling over the line, just getting to 100 even if it's really ugly to do so, you just have to cross. This is a situation where the only possible chance that you can lose with this lead is if the opponent has a break. I have a better line than that, Panda, that you're about to see. But yeah, if there is possibly a break, the opponent might have another Eagle. They might be able to do Eagle plus Last Petting Zoo into a big project. That is the only way they could overtake me. At the same time, people might be tempted to go for a break because we have a bear. We also get a 2 size, so we might be able to finish with a decent animals action, but it's just not worth the risk. So in this situation where we have to end as soon as possible, we need to look out for how quickly can our opponent cause the break. So if they did cards and then sponsors, they could cause the break in 2 moves. So we need to end within 2 moves if possible. And we have a line that does that, which is building a single pavilion over the X token. That gets us 1 appeal, which is the perfect amount. The opponent does their project. They decide to take X tokens, which means now they can cause the break in 1 move, which they're most likely looking to do. And our finish to this game is just simply spending an X to get the 16th reputation, get the 1 appeal from that, play the Marten from range into our 5 size here, and that gets us to 100 points, which is enough to finish. And with a 21-point lead going into this final scoring, it's impossible to lose. And the opponent has nothing left to do, they have no money, they have no workers, they just build a pavilion. They had Research Zoo, so their endgames were looking pretty good compared to ours. We won by 14. But if there was a break, they played an Eagle, they could very easily overtake us. Yeah, Marten's very happy in there. This game's I don't remember. I seem to recall them having double Eagle, so I think they did. But it's not that important if they did or didn't. It's the threat of them potentially having it that matters. This game's a little more interesting. We're on Silver Lake, so it makes the endgame calculations a lot trickier because each player has a determination action which you have to play around. Both players, you can see, have it unused at the moment. The opponent has an empty 4 size, which is pretty scary. Their end games, they also have Science Lab. They don't have Vet. We have two from, sorry, they have Science Library. We have Science Lab. We have two from Science Lab, one from Foreign Institute. So we're doing pretty well on endgames. We also have favorites we maxed out. So our endgames are looking good. And in terms of projects, there are a few. We have species diversity here that we can support for 3. We have Asia release. So anyway, we can't end in 1 turn. So we're just gonna... I brought up this replay because the line to crossing is actually involving a break 1 move, which I'm going to do now. I don't know if it's the correct time to do it, but we start off with a break 1 move for 2 money. And the reason for that is we want to be playing this tortoise. It costs 20 money. We can do 2 projects, so we get the extra turn into another project into 12 money. That gives us 20 money to play the tortoise. That should be enough to cross, and we can get this 3 size back when we release the Peafowl. So opponent has vet, which they remember. They just start with playing jungle from range. They release their Langer, so now they have a 4 and a 3 size. And they donate as well. Break is not anywhere near at the moment. They actually take their extra turn as well, interestingly enough. So they're doing animals here. That gives me a very good indication of what is to come. They do Snowy Owl. Double release into Seabirds. I like your thinking. Actually, might have been better. But they play 2 small animals into the 3 and the 4 size, so they don't have very much left. They can still do another project. In fact, they can cross next move with Reptiles 4. They have vet, they have 2 X tokens. That's probably their plan. Just 4 reptiles into 5 money and donate. So it's not a bad finish for them. However, they might be feeling a bit behind because they can see that I have 3 endgames to their 1. So they might not be wanting to cross. But anyway, we do our sequence. We do the first project species into extra turn, spend all our X tokens. And I make a pretty big mistake here. I probably missed the fact that they got their 4th reptile, and I didn't want to put out another project for them to release their rhino. So I did the Tamarin release. And that is not good when you have only a 3 size animal left to play. So now we're on 97, but we actually cannot cross in 1 turn, even though it would be ideal to, because our endgames are just superior. So the opponent chooses not to cross, actually, because I have no idea why they choose not to cross. But they release their Barn Owl. I think they're really banking on the fact that there's going to be another break, which is kind of stupid because I'm on 97 and 20 money. But they choose to do a worse project so they can not cross and hopefully have a break. They take X tokens as well. And they're on 99. So now I don't really have a choice. I have to do cards to find something. It does put the break in range, but I literally have no option apart from drawing cards. So complete mistake from me. But this is all just background to getting to the important part, which is now delaying the end of the game. So the opponent causes the break, which is absolutely correct in their position. They're very happy. They can even get an X token during the break, so now they can just finish with Reptiles 4. Yeah. We do have some good delaying moves. So yeah, opponent grabs the X token, so now they can do Reptiles 4. We're just going to draw stuff from our science lab, get an X token ourselves, and just snap up Expert on Africa as another potential sponsor to play if we need to delay. So now with the opponent on 99 and them able to do a project, there's no point me ending the game. If we look at my moves available, building a 3 size enclosure is a 9-point move. Playing Quarantine Lab is a 3-point move. Playing Breeding Co-op is a 3-point move. So I have a lot of moves that I can do without crossing me. So I do them in the wrong order. I start with Quarantine Lab. I should have built the 3 size for sure. I've misplayed this game quite a lot. Opponent decides not to break again because they're seeing that I'm delaying. So they do a cards action, which I think is a mistake because there's not really much they could hit. But now I build the 3 size. There's again no point in crossing. We can just... This is just a 9-point action for us. Opponent X's back, build. And now is the time to cross, because if I delay again, I can play Breeding Co-op for 3 points. If the opponent X's back animals, then they're looking at supporting the project and getting their 3rd uni for vet endgame plus the 2 CP. Well, Export in Africa is pretty much the same as Quarantine Lab, but this also protects me. I don't know what the opponent could do, but it also gives the X token. So I'm not sure that Export in Africa was actually 3 points. I guess it was. But either way, now if the opponent X's back animals, then they get an extra 3 CP, so that beats the action that I'm about to do, which means it's my time to trigger the end of the game. There's no point delaying because my action is 3 points, their action is 9 points. So we play the Shubil, which we luckily drew up with the last card's action. We play the Tortoise. And with our endgames, this should still be enough because, yeah, their card's action and the X token actually did not give the opponent any benefit. They just essentially let me get 12 points with not crossing. Now they do their project and they donate. And it turns out we won by 14 anyway, but it would have been a lot closer if the opponent hadn't wasted those last 2 actions. They sort of gave us time to get points. But of course, they obviously don't know what's in our hand as well. They don't know that I have a 3 size Tortoise that needs an enclosure. But those 12 points could have been very important. They could have had a better endgame, in which case they might have won if we didn't do those 2 delaying moves. So that's a situation where it's good to delay the end of the game after the misplays happened, after the final break was caused. I don't know if you were listening, Charles, why, but the opponent was about to X-back animals and then get a last uni for vet. Which is a pretty good reason it's a 9-point move, because they have a SOS upgraded. Okay, this 3rd game is... Alright, we're in the middle of the break. The opponent's just caused a break. So they're just going through their actions. Both of us have pouching. I have 2 size, they don't. So, I mean, the opponent has a 3 size enclosure. In terms of projects, they're kind of close to 5 Americas, but not really. They've already done Europe. So not sure what projects they have. They just snapped the Sloth Bear. It's fine, it goes in their 3 size. And they pouch 1 card. Let's look at endgames. We have nothing from Vet. We're going to get 2 from either Arcade or Victory Column, so just 2 appeal, but opponent has nothing. Our endgame is... Okay, we've actually played an elephant, so we have diverse species for 4 at the moment, and we have Research Zoo for nothing. Very lucky for us, Bamboo Forest shows up. It's a good release. But aside from that, we don't really have a lot. There's no other playable animals on the display. We're only just going to get a big enclosure back when the elephant gets released. and scores are kind of close. So I think this is a situation where we try to end the game as soon as possible because both of us are just lacking cards. I only just got a project, so I can play the Bamboo Forest and then I really have nothing else to do apart from play the Tortoise. One of the ways that I can cross is doing the project, but also getting Last Worker. So to do that, I also need to get a third partner to do at the same time, which we can do, but we have to do one delaying action first, because we do have vet. So I'm just going to build a 3 size for the Tortoise, just in case we find a big animal with our cards draw here, which we do, but it's not playable. Pavilion over the X token. Now we can support a project and get third partner zoo / last worker. Opponent starts off with a cards action, which I'm pretty happy to see because it's looking like I'm going to end the game in 2 turns at the moment. They just draw everything from the deck because sponsors won't do much at this stage. And now is when we just do our sequence. So Asia partners are into Bamboo Forest. That does get us the last worker from the rep there. And with the donation and the Tortoise, we can just barely cross. Now the opponent plays... There's one thing you kind of have to watch out for with herbivores. There are the big flockers like the kangaroo. So they play an unexpected kangaroo, which gives them a lot of points with their meerkat den as well as pouching. And they play koala. They get another card. No, they only choose to pouch 1, so they have 2 cards left over, which is a little bit suspicious. They have no empty enclosures apart from these 1 sizes, and now they actually have a point lead. So now the tricky thing is it still right to play the Tortoise? And the question is, what else do I have to do if I'm not playing the Tortoise? I think the only thing I could do is draw cards and hope to find a second playable animal. But it doesn't really feel like enough. I think this is a situation where I just have to play the Tortoise and hope it's enough. Break and get lucky. Break is an option. Break is definitely an option, but it also just feels worse than drawing cards. Because Break lets me see 2 more cards. Drawing cards, even if I spend an X, gets me to see 3 more cards, so... Doing cards over breaking is probably more correct. But I think I'd rather just the guaranteed cross just in case they have a better move to do. So we just play the Tortoise here. This is another game where we just fall over the line, fall over the finish line. Opponent has a maxed out geological project, but they don't get last worker, thankfully. They can't get pouching, they finish on 3 points higher, but they don't have any endgames. We have 2 points in endgames at least, and we get 3 from diverse species, and victory column wins us the game. And looking at the replay, their last card in hand, they did not pouch. They could have pouched to tie the game. Their last card was the Red Deer, so that would have been very playable to flock with them. It would have given them the CP from Meerkat Den. Double science with donation. I mean, I could have, but does it... It's like a 3-point move. It again doesn't feel like enough. And yeah, as it turns out, their last card was Reindeer, so that would have been a 9 or 10 point move for them. Yeah, because it gets them the last CP for Meerkat Den, it gets them 5+2, so playing Reindeer is a 10-point move for them. Okay, You're right. I do have research zoo, so I mean it's a 2 CP move. It's a 6-point move. That is true. 6 points. 6 points might be borderline. It might have been enough, but as it turns out, we would have lost if we'd done that. So maybe a bit more fortunate, but I think that's a situation where it's just better to end the game as soon as possible because I know that I have basically nothing. The opponent might have something better. This is the game from the thumbnail. Okay, so it's currently our turn. We can cause the break. I mean, there's a lot of different options here. Let's take a rundown. So the opponent has a lot of empty enclosures. They have 2 3 sizes, a 2 size, or 1 size. They're very close to filling map. They have both side entrance and engineer. Their end games, they don't have breeding program, but they're very likely to fill map as the last move and get both of these. We have 2 from Science Lab. We have Tech Institute. So end games are pretty even. We have 3 CP here. They have 10 appeal, basically. We have Large Animal Zoo for only 2 shields, and it's currently tied at 96 all. They also have a ton of money. But our last move is a pretty good one. It's going to be Primates 5 plus nothing, just Primates 5. So this is a situation where we have a couple of good moves we can do before we can end. Because the opponent's so close to crossing, they can't fill map because filling map crosses them. If they play animals, it crosses them. They could potentially do both if they had a posturing animal, which is the only risk of delaying right now. If they have a posturing animal, they could potentially fill map and play animals. But we got to calculate the odds a little bit. They only have 2 cards in hand. They have just released a Peafowl, which is one of the posturing birds. I discarded a Lesser Flamingo during the last break, so that's not available for them. And really, I make the decision to play Penguin Pool here, which serves 2 purposes. Firstly, it just gets us 2 more appeal. Card we draw is not very useful. But it serves a second purpose of if they decide to delay, then we have the potential to fill map with our bonus reward from doing the 5 Primates project. We have just enough money to build 4 spots, and then 2 size during reward fills map. So it's a 2 move. It is a 2 appeal move that unlocks an 8 appeal move next turn. And I think it's definitely worth the risk because it's very low odds the opponent has a posturing animal and they can't really do much else. I guess, yeah, they really don't have much. Because even if they grab, I guess their best move is 2 Reputation without donating, which is just the same as what we've done. But they do decide to just fill map as their final move, which, I mean, makes sense. It's a 19-point move for them. Gets them 10 endgames plus 2 pavilions plus 7 for map fill. And so while we couldn't do another delaying move, we just essentially got 2 appeal for free. There was no downside to doing this move. We just got 2 appeal for nothing. And with our endgames, that 2 appeal could matter because we don't have a maxed out endgame, but the opponent has maxed out Favorite Zoo, they have maxed out Architectural Zoo. So they have a lot of options that they can hit 4 CP endgames with. They only had Climbing Park, thankfully, so it didn't matter. But if they had one of those maxed out endgames, then they win the game if we don't play Penguin Pool. So that's an important time to delay there. In a situation where they have a 4 CP endgame, they just win if we don't play Penguin Pool. And if they delay, then we open up a better move for ourselves as well. This is maybe a more obvious one where the decision is to just end as quickly as possible. It's our turn. The scores are 88 to 68. The opponent's just done a 5 CP project in 5 predators. But they have big enclosures, and they have 2 workers to do another project, and they have X tokens. Yeah, seeing a lot of monkeys this tonight, right? In terms of endgames, we have Baboon Rock, we have Hydrologist, we will hit Cable Car when we play the Hippo, which is going to be our final move. So looking pretty good. We also have Large Animal Zoo for 1, not great. Opponent has Federal Grants, and that is it. But similarly, they have good potential endgames. Research Zoo for 3, they have maxed out Favorite Zoo. And there is a small reason to delay, which would be to map fill. We can fill map without even spending an X token, which is pretty nice. We just need to build 5, then we have the Hippo to play the Adventure Playground, we have Flamingo to do a posturing, provided we get it. But the big reason to not delay is if the opponent has an Eagle, then it lets them play 2 animals plus do a project. If they don't have an Eagle, it just lets them play 2 animals, and I don't know, maybe one of them gives them an X token or something, and then they can do a project as well. But basically, we have filling map, which is 8 points, compared to very scary amounts of money and 2 workers left to do a project, and a project's nearly always better than 8 points, especially when it comes with a donation. Also, the fact that there's the Cobra here kind of forces our hand because it's playable for them. It just gives them an extra action because we're ahead on appeal. So it basically means that we're forced to end and draw the Hypnosis away. Oh, right, I forgot about the one up here. Yeah, okay. We have to spend 1x, but it doesn't matter either way. We'd be able to fill with Posturing plus Adventure Playground. That is true, I missed this one in the corner. Okay, we draw up the Hypnosis. We get to play Hippo. And it is a good cross for us. I think with our point lead, should beat nearly anything that comes out. And of course, we can also play the Guided School Tours on display here, which is another 7-point sponsor. So I mean, this sponsor's action alone is an insane play. Like Adventure Playground, Guided School Tours. That's 16 points between them. And opponents not messing around here. They just spend all their X's, which makes me kind of relieved because it means they don't have an Eagle. Or at least if they do have an Eagle, they're not doing a project with it. But they play Asian Elephant. Into African Elephant. So they had a good use for all of that money. And even though we have a 20-point lead in the endgame, they get it to 118. And we get to 126. So, I mean, slightly better endgames they could potentially win. But also, if we delayed, it's a little bit risky if they can do another project as well. I mean, at the very least, they have 2 herbivores. And they also have the potential to use the Hypnosis against us if we don't end. So maybe we could have delayed for 8 points, but I think crossing there with our point lead made it virtually impossible to lose. They would have to hit every single endgame and have both elephants, which they actually did have. But maybe if they hit Research instead of Climbing Park, it's like a 2-point game. I think with the point lead, just safer to end when we don't have any other enclosures left and can't do another project is the main thing as well. Okay, similarly close game. We're on 90 to 91. End games, we have diverse species for 1. But we do have a meerkat den, geologist, hydrologist, native farm for 2. So we have very good end games apart from our diverse species here. Opponent does have an elephant though, which means they have double end games. It looks like their last move is going to be doing a project, so they're going to hit their breeding program as well. And with double elephant endgames, it makes it a bit scary because they have maxed out favorite zoo again, like every opponent ever. Diversity for 4. Diversity for 1 at the moment. So this is a game where I just end it, and it's a complete mistake to. Because when we look at what the opponent has, they don't have very much left in the tank. They can't cause the break this move. So break is not a threat. They have barely any money. They can't even donate. They've already taken 5 and 12 money. So essentially their last action is going to be project, and then they have nothing left. This would have been a perfect time to delay the game. And we have a good delaying move. We can grab Science 2-Rep Uni. We can do that for either 2 reasons, either to upgrade cards in order to get the 11th CP when we play the Tasmanian Devil, or we can upgrade animals, in which case it makes the grizzly bear playable, which is pretty good on its own, because we can play the Tasmanian Devil grizzly bear. It gives us diverse species on predators and bears, and then it also gives us our last worker for a bonus 1. But instead, this move, we're playing the Tasmanian Devil and the Flamingo, which is still okay. Flamingo gives us an extra 2 appeal for Diversity Researcher. It gives us the diverse species on birds. And it gives us a pavilion. So, I mean, Flamingo alone is a 12-point animal. But Grizzly Bear is an 18-point animal. Plus, we also get to donate when we do the association action. So this association action would have been plus 9 points. And the opponent just ends with their project, as they were always going to do. They had really nothing else to do. They have a jungle release with their migration recording, so that's a pretty decent project for them. But they really had no threats after that. They had maybe enough money to play 1 animal, which is not going to ever beat 9 points. Maybe they had a sponsor to play, but not many good sponsors when they don't have 4 science. And with their elephant endgame, they get extremely close to beating us. But thankfully, native farm is too good, and we win with that diverse species from the bird. But yeah, complete mistake not grabbing uni and donating. Would have been plus 9 points, would have been a very comfortable victory. So that's a situation where it was a mistake to end. We should have delayed. Because endgames were about even, but the opponent just had nothing left. They couldn't do anything after that move. And the other thing is they could have also grabbed 3x tokens, but that would not have been enough to do another project. So I guess the very best thing they could have done is got X tokens and then gotten a partner zoo. But also I think releasing the Manga Bay puts them over 100 anyway, so they would have had to done a worse project than releasing the Manga Bay and then spend the last action getting a partner zoo. So our move still would have been a better point, better for points. Okay, this is a game that was actually sent in to me with the title of How Do I Play My Endgames Better? Or something along those lines, not word for word. But our player here, M. Greaves, it's a close game, 86 to 89. It's the opponent's turn right now. They're just doing a cards action to put the break on 8 out of 9. But the opponent really doesn't have much to do. We have 2 workers left, so we're going to do a project. We have... What project do we have? We can do Jungle. We can do America's Release, but Jungle's a better project. We have an empty 5 size, although yeah, neither player has any money, but we're on Commercial Harbor, so we can sell. Yeah, but opponent has no money, no workers. They want the break. They also have their ×2 unspent. But we've already... Well, we have our ×2 here, but it's not really accessible because of building placement. So the opponent just does cards here. They draw a Tasmanian Devil, which is okay. Whatever. We do our project. There's really not much else better to do. And I think 2 sizes is a fine reward to take because it's also giving us an Archaeologist endgame. We actually have all of our borders filled, including this one now, with the 2 size coming in. But here is the tough decision that we actually have to sell a card. We have to sell a card because if there's any world where the opponent does not break, we have to end before they break. We can end if we play Wombat plus Turtle. Just barely crossing. But in order to do that, we have to sell both of these cards. And M. Greaves does not sell a card here. So immediately now we cannot cross in 1 turn. It's kind of close playing the Wombat. We get to 98, but not enough. An opponent does that crazy decision in not crossing, which is a complete blunder from them. They play that Tasmanian Devil Ace drop into a 4 size. It's absolutely crazy to not cross in that position, to not break in that position, because they're about to get a ×2 on Assos. They have Assos upgraded. They have 5 herbivores to support. They also have 2 reptiles, so I mean, they have 2 projects ready to go. They can also get Last Uni, which is just another CP. They have double donation. Insane decision not to break. But instead, they're playing Break Chicken when they shouldn't be. And now, unfortunately, we're on 92, but we can't cross. There's not many good moves here. Maybe the best move is just playing Export in Asia. But the problem with building right now is we have 3 1-size gaps, but a Kiosk can't fit in any of them, so we cannot map fill in 1 turn, which is just going to leave us sort of stranded with a 1-point move here. Taking the ×2 doesn't really matter. I guess we could save it for next turn. It's actually better. But it also just gives the opponent much more incentive to cause the break here, which they do, which is what they should have done last move. And from a close game, it's going to become completely one-sided because the opponent has double project to do with donation and Last Uni. And the other really awkward thing is, now that the break has happened, we put our 2 size here. If we play Export on Asia, then we cross. So we can't play Animals and Export on Asia. The opponent gets their ×2 on Assos. We do have Medical Breakthrough, so even playing Export on Asia would have been nice because it does let us cross during break. I'm not sure that actually helps though. But M. Greaves makes the correct decision right now to not cross. There's no point crossing yet. The really awkward thing is we can't fill map. We can't play Animals. It's a similar situation to a couple of games ago where I was in a position against the opponent with Engineer and Side Entrance. They want to play Animals. They want to fill map, but they can't do both because they're on too close to 100. So, I mean, I think basically doing it, Hail Mary to try to find either an eagle into this 5 size or a posturing animal to fill map. Our endgame is research, by the way, so that's pretty good. But no luck here. And opponent's just going to cross with their double Assos. And they're about to shoot ahead in points. 5 herbivores, which, I mean, they're pretty insane to not do before. I think they should have definitely done 5 herbies before. Yeah, they also get their last uni. They get 2 more rep as well. Never mind, no they don't. They don't have that. So, I mean, they also should have just grabbed X tokens to be able to grab 2 rep. Or even last partner zoo, either or. And our final move is Condor, which, even though we have expert on Americas, can't put a kiosk down, sadly. That's great to hear, Blake. And yeah, the best 2 animals are Condor plus Wombat. So just making that one decision to sell cards in the second last turn, or second last turn before that break, would have been a pretty easy win. Because think about how many points the opponent got after the break happened. It's just 5, plus they actually had a better project than 2 reptiles. So, I mean, they just got an insane amount of points. But yeah, it's also a mistake from the opponent to not cause the break earlier. So if the opponent played perfectly, then they should have won anyway. But they played that Tasmanian Devil and got greedy, and that should have been punished. But that's a hard line to find with the exact money and exact points. I don't think Expert on Asia tips the scales enough in your favor. It lets you cross during break, but it doesn't really help. And it also doesn't let you fill map during the break, which is the main thing that they were going for. But, I mean, speaking of crossing during break, no, I think Reptile House is very valid. But I think what you may be experiencing is upgrading build reduces win rates. But Reptile House is fine. Reptile House is very good when you have a lot of reptiles. This is a Marine Worlds game, but the theory still applies. So it's between JD and Randall here. JD is the current active player. If we're noticing the map, he has his classic crossing during break ready to go here. This is true as well. I mean, the build action was already too late, I think, because it would had to be project then sell and then double animal, sell then double animal. But even the fact that Expert on Asia was played, I think, is too slow. Anyway, so I mean, JD has plenty of money. He also has 5 primates, so his cross move is just going to be 5 primate support here. He has 2 workers. He can cross this round if he wants. The thing is, Randall also has Aviary Spot. He has a 2 size and 25 money, so Randall's last action is most likely just playing animals. Then the question becomes, is it correct to break here? And the benefit JD gets from breaking is filling map during break with the 2 size reward. It's better for side entrance endgame, so filling map is a 12-point bonus. The benefit that Randall gets is more money and another 2 size. So it's potentially a little bit risky if Randall has an eagle and a lot of playable animals, then he has money to eagle into animals again. But I still think that getting 12 points is a pretty good hedge against Randall getting more benefit than that. The other cute thing about Marine Worlds is you have cards like these where, in addition to break, you may discard one card to play a sponsor for money. So he can play the Foreign Institute, although it does not give any endgame points. So here we have a break caused, even though he is perfectly capable of crossing right now. Causing the break gives a bonus 12 points, gives both players the same amount of turns. JD just gets 12 points for free, Randall still gets 1 turn, JD still gets 1 turn. That's what happens when you cross during break. And it also stops any break chickens, so now both players are forced to do their last action. Two sides, we'll see what Randall has. Galapagos, Galapagos does show up, but no 3 sides and not in range anyway. I mean, Randall has Kangaroo. And Fox. So most likely Randall was just going to play Kangaroo anyway, so causing the break gave Randall the Fox action, which is +3. Yeah, and no animals left in hand because he's using hunter animals here to hunt 6. Yeah, the hunting action card is not great while we're on the topic of Marine Worlds. And this is just Primates 5. And with the end goals, side entrance favorite zoo. +12, +3, it turns out it wouldn't have mattered anyway. I mean, without the crossing during break, JD would have been 12 points less on 121, Randall would have been on 120, but very close to being game deciding. With a slightly better endgame, then yeah, the Fox didn't contribute to diverse species. Slightly better endgame, and Randall just wins this without the crossing during break. I mean, that's a situation where 12 points is probably going to be better than giving your opponent some extra money and an extra snapping action. It can, of course, backfire if he had an eagle or something. And that's one of the things. Being able to track your opponent's cards throughout the whole game is going to help you make these decisions of when it's important to cross immediately or when it's important to delay crossing, which you cannot get from these little snippets of endgames, because you don't have the context of the whole game to see what cards they drew up or snapped up before. So that's definitely one thing that can help influence these decisions, knowing what cards your opponent has. But then even just seeing what empty enclosures they have, how much money they have, you can get a good sense and deduce what the opponent might have. Which is also why you see me freaking out a lot when it looks like I have a 20-point lead, but I can see the opponent might have a Sun Bear plus a flocking animal that gives them enough points to overtake me, even though it's extremely unlikely that they have that. But it's just knowing all these possibilities. And we're going to cut it short today. That is all I had planned. But yeah, it doesn't need to be a long one. Of course, if you guys have any questions, then feel free to leave them in the comments. Otherwise, thanks all for watching. I have to get up early and drive my in-laws to the airport. So have a good rest of the weekend, and we'll see you guys on Sunday for the BGA gameplay. Actually, see you guys tomorrow night for the Emu Cup Grand Final on the Emu Friends channel. I will be casting that. I'm not sure what time yet, but I'll schedule a stream when we know the time. So yeah, see you guys tomorrow for the Emu Cup Grand Final. Very much looking forward to that. I don't think I'll spoil who it's between in case you guys haven't seen the semi-finals, but that was just played last night, so you can also watch that on the Emu Cup channel. And yeah, thanks for watching.